Hey everybody, it's Christine up today for the Scrap Room, and I am using the DoubleShot kit. I'm specifically using the Simple Stories page kit, which is their vintage garden collection, and it is just beautiful. Now, it is totally out of my normal style, 100% out of my normal style. However, I really had fun working with it. I got creative with it and had a good time. So what I'm going to do is combine some of the different patterned papers. This one that has the printing and mixed media look and flowers and butterflies has a lot going on and just didn't really fit my particular style. So I'm going to modify it a little bit to make it work for me. First thing I'm going to do is pull out my craft knife, and I am going to just trim around parts of some of the elements on this. So specifically right now, I am trimming around the butterfly, and I am just going slowly, very slowly, as you can see, because this is at twice the speed, so super duper slow. And I'm not going to cut the whole thing. I just want to cut enough so that I can tuck another sheet of paper underneath it. Butterfly is kind of detailed, so definitely even slower than normal. And that will take care of one side of it, but then I'm going to hop on over to the other side and do the same thing with some of the flowers. This is one of my favorite techniques to employ when I have big, cool papers that have a background already built into them, and I don't want to cover too much of that up. I also don't want a fussy cut. This is a good way to change it up and do kind of a different look by just pulling up a portion of some of the elements on it, but still keeping the overall paper intact. It's a really simple technique, but it can really have a great impact on your final result. So now you can see I've got that pink gingham paper, and I'm going to tuck it underneath. So right now I'm just figuring out how far over do I need to cut with that craft knife to get it just to the right location so I can slide that gingham paper right in there. You can also see right now, this paper is very vintage looking, but when I slid that gingham in there, it really changes the overall look and just lightens it to more of a springy paper. I am going to add one picture on there, and then I am going ahead and distressing the edges of that to keep true to the vintage look, but also to add some texture, and that the whole thing ends up kind of being Christine style with a vintage twist, if you will. If you're a follower of me, you watch lots of my videos, you know what I mean by that. This still very clearly has a Christine feel to it, but it's got the vintage feel to it as well. Now, as a reminder, the Scrap Room is a non-commitment kit club. They have the Flavors of the Month kit that has 4-page kits, and they have the DoubleShot kit. This is from the DoubleShot kit, and it has 2-page kits in it. Those 2-page kits are totally different from the Flavors of the Month. So if you love the Flavors of the Month and you want to get even more, you can get the DoubleShot and get 6-page kits a month. Earlier this month, I shared the first layout from this, and that was with a Carta Bella camping page. So if you want to check that out, just go back to the beginning of this month here on my channel, and you can see it. Now, I'm going to tuck my picture in there, overlapping the butterfly and flowers onto it just a smidge. Then comes the tricky part, the title work and the embellishing, and doing just enough without going too crazy overboard. You can see I'm putting my picture on there flat because I want the butterfly wing and the flower to still stick out. So I don't want those to get tucked under anything. But I'm also being pretty strategic with my picture, placing it so that the butterfly wing doesn't cover up anybody's face, nor does the flower. And that kind of worked out just perfectly, that I could get it right in there between little girl's head and my husband's head. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is use some fussy cut flowers and just add those on to up the amount of flowers on the layout. And I am going to use some 3D foam adhesives in order to do that and make them pop up a little bit more, continuing the look that I created by pulling up those pieces that I cut with the craft knife. I've got dimension going. I don't want it to all of a sudden go flat. I want to carry on that dimension throughout. I'm also going to add in some butterflies. Now you'll notice I've gone a little bit out of my normal order. Normally I create my base, then I add the picture or pictures, then I do a title, then I embellish, and I'm pretty standard on doing that. However, today I was a little bit stuck on the title. I wasn't sure which direction I wanted to go. So I've done my embellishing before the title, trying to figure out exactly, really it's about where I want to place it. In the end, I decided to use some of these chipboard pieces that say, love this. I'm also going to pull in some of the chipboard hearts as accents throughout the layout. Now, generally, I like my title to really bounce off the page and be completely stark, obvious where it is. It blends in a little bit today, and that's not my favorite thing. However, I really like the script font on this, and it just worked. Up against the gingham, it's really hard to have a title that's in stark contrast to it. So you make it work. Sometimes it's not the perfect fit, but good enough. And honestly, I didn't have anything else that I thought would work better. Now that I've gotten the title on there, it kind of gives me a good view of where I have space that I still need stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and add in some additional flowers. I'm going to add in some Nouveau drops and just some final touches. This was not a page kit that when I initially looked at it, I thought, oh, this is going to be right up my alley. It is probably not a page kit that I would have purchased on my own. However, I'm really glad it was in this month's kit. It stretched me a little. I love how the layout turned out, and it just gave me something fresh and different to look at. Like if you go to my Instagram right now, I've got all really bright primary colors on there. This was just a nice change of pace from my norm. So I really enjoyed working with it, and that is what makes the kits from the ScrapRoom so great, that they are going to give you some stuff that maybe you wouldn't pick out on your own, but will allow you to stretch yourself, try something different. And you know, I am part of the Simple Stories design team. The vintage lines are not always my first choice. So it was really good to see, like, hey, this works for you too. and open up my mind a little bit to being comfortable with some of those kits and some of those collections that will stretch me a little. It's always good to be stretched as an artist, and I think some of our best creativity and mojo come out of that. So all of that said, I am pretty well finished for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed seeing how far you can really stretch your paper when you're working with something, and also what it's like when you step out of your comfort zone a little bit and into a collection that will give you a different stretch creatively. Hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you again next time.